Let's talk one of our absolute darlings. Year in and year out, at least Garrett and I have rooted for them. Trey may be a little bit of a slow adopter, but you're officially on the wreck. You are in the graphic. I'm talking about the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets.
I want to say thank you so much. I'm no longer getting run over by the rambling wreck on the graphic. I saw that on Twitter the other day, and I do need to give you your flowers for that. I've never been anti Georgia Tech, to be clear. I've been anti their schedule and how the
Yes.
ACC has just tried to make them go 3-9 every single
Yes.
year, and they keep coming back. So shout out Georgia Tech. I love you. I've never hated you. I've just hated your schedule.
That's very fair. Schedule this year might they might have enough of a enough of a favorable look. It's not an easy schedule by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not like doomsday worthy, which feels like a major win for the folks in Atlanta. I love this offense. I think that there are a lot of pieces all over the place to like. Obviously, you're gonna have some transition, and you lose your leading wide receiver to Auburn last year, but you bring him right back, a replacement in Eric Rivers from FIU. You actually get Dean Patterson, I believe, also from FIU. The top two Panther receivers come to town. Malik Rutherford is back. They've got a couple of starters along the offensive line. Jamal Haynes is back. Haynes King should be healthy, we hope. I mean, it was duct tape and baling wire that held him together last year. I love Georgia Tech this year, man. I'm excited to see if they can make it to the playoff.
And this is an offense that has an identity and is not afraid to stick to it, right? We heard
Yep.
that week 0
Run the
from
ball.
Brent Key in Arlington. Run the ball, right? With that hard W in there. Yeah, you mentioned the law offices of Haynes and Haynes. I had to get my shout out to them in there. They're still open. They're still helping people with some injuries eventually, but right now they're just wrecking shop on the offensive side of the ball. And I think, you mentioned Haynes King needing to be held together. They also have Aaron Filio, right? How do you say his last name?
Oh yeah,
Backup quarterback.
the backup quarterback.
Is it
Yes,
Filio?
I don't think that's how you pronounce his name. I'll get that
Okay, thank you.
pronunciation.
Yeah, and
Yep.
yeah, but he came in and had some good moments last year too, and I think they could use him in some gadget opportunities. So I'm excited about that. You mentioned Eric Rivers; that's a huge addition. They also bring back Malik Rutherford from last year, who had a nice season behind as the number 2 receiver. I'm a little worried about the offensive line. They lost some guys. They're retooling that just a little bit, but I think
Yep.
I trust the staff to get that right. I guess the only thing that could keep them from making a run to, I guess, across the street in Atlanta or that up to Charlotte, right? I almost said Atlanta for the SEC, but we're talking about the ACC. Charlotte.
Sure.
Only potential roadblock there I see is just this transition on defense. They lose Tyler Santucci, who was a fantastic defensive coordinator. Blake Gideon is the new defensive coordinator. He was a safety coach at Texas last year, Mitch.
Yes.
This is not fair to Blake. I think he's a great coach. I will always remember him though for his demise and the last drive in Lubbock in
Yep.
2008 that gave one of the
Yep.
most uh, iconic moments in college football history. You'll remember him falling down on the catch from Michael Crabtree. Like that's him that kind of just gets completely out of the play there and allows Crabtree to score. He also dropped a pick that was right
Yes.
in his breadbasket earlier in that drive that people forget about. But I digress. He's now a coach. He's doing great things. I think he'll be. It's his first time being a defensive coordinator that I'm aware of, so that's a big transition. But yeah, I think that's the only thing I'm worried about holding Georgia Tech back. Can they keep that same identity and that same intensity on the defensive side of the ball?
If they play with the same intensity that you just issued to the drive-by of Blake Gideon, then they're gonna be fine. 'Cause
I had to do it,
jeez,
man. Like he torched A&M. He was really good against A&M this whole time there. So
he was a great safety,
I
very
gotta
good
take my
safety. But
shots at the one low point of his career. Truly,
man, the whole household. We were in Beavers Bend, Oklahoma, watching that game, and the whole household screamed when that ball hit Gideon between the numbers, and then of course it falls to the turf, and the rest is history. I I'm I I'm definitely drinking the Kool-Aid. I am incapable, I think, of being unbiased towards Georgia Tech right now because we have like rooted for this team when it was not sexy to do so. When Haynes King went there and it was like, well, okay, sure, that's where he plays football now. But they have found a brand and they have instilled a culture in a place that should be easy to win in urban Atlanta and just frankly is not. Even recruiting their own neighborhoods has been difficult for Georgia Tech over these last couple of years. But Brent Key has that tie to the program, right? Former offensive lineman comes in, knows how to run the show, knows how to connect with the students, with the alumni. And now I really feel like this might be the crowning of the Yellow Jackets here in 2025. Not going to be easy to get to the playoff, but if they can go 10-2, which I think is very possible on this schedule, especially if the offense is fully operational, man, things get really fun really fast. They've got that early game against Clemson, and depending on who you talk to, there are definitely people that are rooting for not rooting, but picking the Yellow Jackets to pick Clemson off. That's a home game in week 3 of the schedule. The rest of the front half of the schedule is very forgiving. At Wake Forest, Virginia Tech are the other 2 conference opponents you play. The back half is definitely more difficult. At Duke, Syracuse, at NC State, at Boston College, Pitt, and then versus Georgia in the season finale, and that one's played in Atlanta in not the Superdome, but Mercedes-Benz.
Mercedes-Benz, yep.
Yeah. So certainly not an easy schedule, but boy, it feels like this year could be the year for the Jackets.
It does feel like they've been building to this year, and they have a lot of talent on both sides of the ball ready to go. The only thing I'm concerned about is maybe if the rush defense isn't quite as good as it was last year. That was a big high mark last year. But yeah, you look at the schedule. They open at Colorado. That's going to be tricky. Colorado's just a total wild card this year. If those transfers hit, and if there's still some magic in that program, it could be a very difficult opening game on a Friday night, right? Yeah, it's going to be simultaneous. So. Friday night simultaneous with that Baylor Auburn game. So, that's a tricky opener. You highlighted the front half well. I think at Duke is a really tricky game as well.
Sure.
It's right before they host Syracuse and go to NC State, and Duke's coming off a bye in that one, so very tricky spot there. But other than that, they host Pitt. Georgia was right there last year. They had every opportunity to win that game and send shockwaves throughout college football. But it's a little bit of a new look Georgia team as well. There's a real good chance that they're 9-3 this year, maybe even 10-2, like you said. And I think I know where you're picking them in regards to the ACC championship. If you're going to pick them to make it to Charlotte, but man, it's going to be really interesting to see if they can actually live up to that ceiling now that there's actual expectations for this program.
I know, and that tends to be the thing that sends teams, running for the under is the expectations. In this age of social media, when kids are transferring to programs every other second, it feels like it's hard to build a locker room and a football team that can withstand that, right? It's hard to groom a program that can stare expectations in the face and not blink first. And Georgia Tech just hasn't been there yet, right? This is the first time that they're kind of the trendy pick. And typically on this show, when a team is a trendy pick, we like to raise that red flag. Now, fully, like I said earlier, fully willing to admit that I am not being unbiased. I'm not being fair and balanced here. I am rooting for Georgia Tech to get to Charlotte. I am rooting for Georgia Tech to get to the ACC title game. And so that's just going to be something that I run with this year. I mean, whether they, hell or high water, I'm going to be rooting for the Yellow Jackets here. So there are some questions. They need health. They need a lot of things to go right. But boy, it's fun to root for a head coach that you believe in. And I think Brent Key is one of those guys.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He's a guy that I want to root for. He's a guy that I want to see succeed. And it's a program that I think is really fun and is just, it makes the league more fun when they are good and competitive. And I'm really rooting for that this year to throw some wrenches in the big boys and also get some for themselves.